Press it. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 1, Text 37. Aho, alas, sadhu, not good, anushtitam, executed, yet, because, abhiniveshitah, being completely absorbed, aham, I, indriya, for sense gratification, avidya, by the science, rachita, made, visama, causing distress, Visaya, sense gratification, Andakupe, in the dark well, Tat, that, Alam, insignificant, Alam, of no importance, Amusyaha, of that, Manitaya, wife, Vinodhamrgam, just like a dancing monkey, Mom, unto me, the all condemnation, the all condemnation, iti, thus, grahayam, criticism, chakra, ed. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. The king thus began criticizing himself. Alas, how condemned I have become because of my sense gratification. I have now fallen into material enjoyment, which is exactly like a covered well. I have had enough. I am not going to enjoy anymore. Just see how I have become like a dancing monkey in the hands of my wife. Because of this, I am condemned. Please repeat. The king thus began criticizing himself. Alas, how condemned I have become because of my sense gratification. I have now fallen into material enjoyment, which is exactly like a covered well. I have had enough. I am not going to enjoy anymore. Just see how I have become like a dancing monkey in the hands of my wife. Because of this, I am condemned. Purport. How condemned is the advancement of material knowledge can be understood from the behavior of Maharaj Priyavrata. He performed such wonderful acts as creating another sun, which shined during the night, and creating a chariot so great that its wheel formed vast oceans. These activities are so great that modern scientists cannot even imagine how such things can be done. Maharaj Priyavrata acted very wonderfully in the material field of activities. But because he was dealing in sense gratification, ruling his kingdom and dancing to the indication of his beautiful wife, he personally condemned himself. When we think about this example of Maharaj Priyavrata, we can just consider how degraded this modern civilization of materialistic advancement. Modern so-called scientists and other materialists are very satisfied because they can construct great bridges, roads and machines. But such activities are nothing comparable to those of Maharaj Priyavrata. If Maharaj Priyavrata could condemn himself in spite of his wonderful activities, how condemned we are in our so-called advancement of material civilization. We can conclude that such advancement has nothing to do with the problems of living entity entangled in this material world. Unfortunately, modern man does not understand his entanglement and how condemned he is, nor does he know what kind of body he is going to have in the next life. From a spiritual point of view, a great kingdom, beautiful wife, and wonderful material activities are all impediments to spiritual advancement. Maharaj Priyavrata had served the great sage Narada sincerely. Therefore, even though he had accepted material opulences, he could not be deviated from his task. He again became Krishna conscious, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, Neha Vikramana Swasti, Pratyavayuna Vidyate Swalpamapi Yasya Dharmasya Trayate Mahatopaya. In devotional service, there is no loss or diminution, and even a small service rendered in devotional life is sufficient to save one from the greatest danger. Bhagavad Gita 2:40. Such renunciation as Maharaj Priyavrata's is possible only by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Generally, when people are powerful or when they have a beautiful wife, a beautiful home, and material popularity, they become more and more entangled. Priyavrata Maharaj, however, having been completely trained by great sage Narada, revived his Krishna consciousness in spite of all impediments. Om Ajnana-Timirandasya Jnana-Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Shapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupadamayan Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Shri Udara Padakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajanam Sadhanatam Sanketam Sadvetam Sadhutam Harijanasaitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Pada Sahajalita Shri Vishakam Samasta Hare Krishna Karna Sandhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopika Nanda Nandana Mushtude Ramta Kantana Gaurave Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishamanam Devi Pranamani Mancha Kripa Sandhudevesha Patidanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Ram Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashtagane Sakarini Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, today's verse, which is also related to the previous verse. In this chapter, we are hearing the pastimes of Maharaj Priyavrata and the son of Swayambhuva Manu, and how he was a brahmachari, and how after the reign of the Prachetas, King Uttanapad dynasty, there was no suitable king to rule the universe. So Swayambhuva Manu wanted his son Priyavrata to take that responsibility, even though he was a brahmachari in the forest. And he was also trained by Narada Muni, and he was very reluctant to accept that position. So this is the background. And he also refused his father's order. And what happened was, Brahma himself came with Narada Muni to convince him to take up this responsibility of being a king and ruling the universe and protecting the citizens. So that is the duty of the king, to help the citizens go back to Godhead. It's a very big responsibility. So he was also, as you know, that Maharaj Priyavrata was also given assurance. I think it's 513, right? He was given assurance that even though you are going to be a king and you're going to enter into the family household life, you are not going to be affected, because your consciousness is always thinking of Krishna. So this verse 513, elevated Mahatmas who have taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are fully satiated by the shade of those lotus feet. Their consciousness cannot possibly become attached to family members. So this was the position of Maharaj Priyavrata. He's not there's two kinds of, there's a Grihamedi and there's a Grihastha. Grihamedi is someone who is attached to family life. We are coming to this material world to enjoy our senses, right? And the pinnacle of all enjoyment is sex life, which culminates in family life. Of course, nowadays there's no family life also. People are just having sex life without any commitment or responsibilities. Times have changed. But this is the end goal of material, the highest Adi Rasa, right? The sex enjoyment. So, Maharaj Priyavrata was very afraid to get into this dark well. It's also mentioned by Prahlad Maharaj. Right? Prahlad Maharaj was speaking to his father, and he says, श्रीप्रहलादुवाच तत्साधुमन्य सुरवर्यधेहिनां सदा समुद्विग्नधियाम् असद्ग्रहात् हीत्वात्मपथा गृहमन्दकूपं मनोगतो यद्दरिमाश्रयेत. Prahlad Maharaj said, Prahlad Maharaj replied, O best of the Asuras, king of the demons, as far as I've learned from my spiritual master, any person who accepted a temporary body and temporary household life is certainly embarrassed by anxiety because of having fallen into a dark well. So this Andakupa is mentioned here as well, as what was mentioned in the 5.137, where there is no water but only suffering. One should give up this position and go to the forest, Vana. More clearly, one should go to Vrindavana, where only Krishna consciousness is prevalent and should thus take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he's advising his father to give up this sense gratification, which binds us to this, repeated birth and death. This attachment to family life without having Krishna in the center will bind us. We can see some verses here. Of course, the famous verse you already know, 558. It's been quoted many times. So how this attraction happens? Pumsastriya mituni bhavameta trayomitor hridaya ganti rahu atogriha shaitra sutapta viter janasya mohoyam aham mameti. So this, how it begins. The attraction between male and female is the basic principle of material existence. On the basis of this misconception which ties together the hearts of the male and the female, one becomes attracted to his body, home, property, children, relatives and wealth. In this way, one increases illusions and thinks in terms of I and mine. So like that, it starts by the basic attraction between the male and female. This is the thing that is running the whole world. Or even if you see our movies, right? Bollywood movies or any movies, the basic theme is there will be a love story. And it will be the same love story every time. But we are always going to watch the same story, even though it's the same thing repeated again and again. We don't find distaste in that association. You just think about it from when we were kids, the Bollywood movies which used to come, right? Or the Indian movies or whatever Hollywood movies they used to come. It's all based on this. And even till now, right? I'm 35, right? 35 years has gone. Same thing. So like that, we are very used to seeing this in our lives and also the lives of on screen, right? So what happens then? You are becoming attached to this body, home. You think home, property, children, relatives, and wealth. You are becoming so attached to all these things, and this attachment makes you take another life, another life, another life. Whereas we see another scenario. Let's see this sloka. Atma Jayaya Sudhakara Pasu Dhavina Bandhusu Rajhe Chavikale Nityam Viruddham Mamatham Jahu. So this is of Maharaj Parikshit, who is a Raja Rishi. He was also a family man. He was a Grihastha, right? He had so much of wealth, home, property, everything. The whole world belonged to him. But, you see this verse, Maharaj Parikshit, as a result of his wholehearted attraction for Lord Krishna, was able to give up all deep-rooted affection for his personal body, Atma, his wife, Jayaya Sutta, children, his palace, his animals like horses, elephants, his treasury house, his friends and relatives, and his undisputed kingdom. How come? He had so much of these things. The entire world belonged to him, right? Whereas a normal person is not able to give up, and he just gave it up like that. Or even Bharat Maharaj. So that is why this is not a normal king. These are called Raja Rishis. They are actually rishi only, but they are taking a role of a raja. You know, so they are not attached 1% at all. Attached to Krishna only. They are doing their duty. That kind of person is qualified to rule the world. One who has full control of his senses, like Vacho Vegam, Krodha Vegam, Manasa Vegam. You can make this disciple all over the world, nectar of instruction. So here is an example of Maharaj Parikshit. So in the same way, we see Maharaj Priyavrata is also like that. He was such a king. He was not attached to his wife. But why he is speaking those verses that, oh, I am like a dancing monkey in the hands of my wife? Because he is very humble. Pure devotee is very humble. Also, he is teaching us a lesson also that even though we may be detached, we must be always careful. Anytime we can be distracted. Like Bharat Maharaj, Raja Rishi, right? All the wealth in the world did not distract him, but got distracted by a small deer, baby deer. So there's danger at every step. So pure devotee, he is very humble. He never go and boast. You see, look at me, how great I am. I detach like that, So Prabhupada was giving an example of, is he the lawyer? In those times, 1930s and 40s, there was a big time, is he a businessman or lawyer? I'm not sure. But one day he left everything and went to Vrindavan. He just renounced everything. But he had no attachment to Krishna, and then eventually he fell down. We cannot falsely, Phalgu Vairagya. We cannot falsely renounce. And we also cannot be Markata Vairagya. Markata Vairagya means monkey renunciation. So many sadhus also in Vrindavan, but they are doing monkey renunciation because they are having illicit affair. Even though in the dress of a sadhu, they are having illicit connections. As yesterday we heard the story from Prabhu, right? Gorakeshwar Das Babaji. When his body was there, these false disciples wanted to take away that body and drag on the road. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati challenged them, like, who among you have not done any sense gratification in the last 1 year, in the last 6 months, in the last 3 months, or the last 3 days? So that is Markata Vairagya. So you cannot falsely renounce also, The renunciation has to come by surrender to Krishna. And this is the position of Maharaj Priyavrata. But same time, humility, always being humble, lower than a blade of grass. He's showing us, if he is speaking like that, then what is our position, right? We are attached. He is not attached actually. In fact, we see in the previous verses also that his wife was so much cooperative with him. The wife was encouraging him in his duties as a king. She was doing very nicely, serving her husband. But yet he is showing to us that renunciation is still, even though you may have that kind of wife or family life, which is so conducive, renunciation has to come. That's why we have 4 stages, right? Of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Never mind, you stay at home and you chant." But still, we have to know that renunciation has to come at some point of our life, either physically or in our mind. At least we must see it that way. So we can see a few more verses before we go into an example about how dangerous this attachment is. Okay. 5:15:10. So what happens in this attachment? My dear Lord, so this 5:18 is, what chapter is it? Jambudip, no, right? Prayers of 5:19 is Jambudip, 5:18 is who is offering the prayers. My dear Lord, we pray that we may never feel attraction for prison of family life, consisting of home, wife, children, friends, bank balance, relatives, and so on. If we have some attachment, let it be for devotees whose only dear friend is Krishna. A person who is actually self-realized and who has controlled his mind is perfectly satisfied with the bare necessities of life. He does not try to gratify his senses. Such a person quickly advances in Krishna consciousness, whereas others who are too attached to material things find advancement very difficult. So, Jambudip, right? So, prayers of the residents of Jambudip. This Jambudvip is ruled by Maharaj Priyavrata's sons. So they are saying that please don't. We pray that our attraction, we do not be attracted to this prison of family life. It's like shackles you cannot see. As you know, Brahma, right? He said that. Brahma spoke this to Krishna. My dear Lord Krishna, until people become your devotees, their material attachment, desires remain thieves, their homes remain prisons, their affectionate feelings from their family members remain foot shackles. So this is how it is. We are all wearing these invisible foot shackles of attachment to this material world by family life. So the Jambudvip residents, they are very intelligent. They are praying like that. Please, let us be attached to your devotees. Attachment has to be there, but to whom? To Krishna and the devotees. You see? So in other words, we'll see. Of course, another example I can give here is Raghunath Das Thakur Goswami. Yeah. Raghunath Das Goswami, the 6 Goswamis, right? So he was a billionaire. His father was, is it Hiranya and uncle Govinda Majumdar. So they were so rich. If their wealth is bringing, they are richer than Jeff Bezos. That much of wealth they had at that time. But he was not attached to that wealth at all from a childhood. Because why? He associated with Haridas Thakur. He associated with, of course, a few other pure devotees. I forgot their names. So he was so much detached from his father's wealth. He was always sleeping on the floor. He was mixing with sadhus. So parents were and he was always trying to run to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Many times he tried to run, he got caught. Right? So the parents did not know what to do with him. So they got him married to a very beautiful wife. Still he was not attached to his wife. Still he was running away. So the mother told the father that why not we just tie him up with a rope. Then the father was very intelligent. The father said, we have given him the greatest rope, his wife. The greatest attachment, the greatest binding foot shackle on the material world is the wife. And he's not binded by that. What would your nonsense rope do to him? Nothing. You see? Because he was attached to Krishna. He was attached to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Same thing happened to Narottama Das Thakur as well. Narottama Das Thakur was son of a king. Right? And he was always running away. He wanted to join Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement. So actually how he became such a pure devotee was, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was visiting Ramakeli to see Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, there was a river there, Padma river. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually went and swam in that river. And he told Padma that I'm releasing my devotion here, my bhakti here. And in a few years' time, a person called Narottama will come and swim here. You give it to him. So Narottama Das Thakur, when he was born, actually he was already a pure devotee. When there was Annaprasna ceremony, right? They were giving him the rice. He refused to eat. He was crying, he don't want to take it. Until some devotee came and gave some prasadam, then he had. So he was already a pure devotee. But when he was a bit older, he went into that river. And suddenly he had a transformation of ecstasy in his body. He became golden complexion. They could not even recognize him. And he became mad after Krishna. And the parents also, same like Raghunath Das Thakur, was trying to catch him. But of course he did not get married. He was running, so many times he was running. And one day he just ran. He escaped. But somehow they caught him again almost he was reaching Vrindavan, they caught him, the soldiers. And then he told the soldiers that it is wrong for a person to stop a wife from going to the husband. The wife has to be chaste to the husband, right? The wife belongs to the husband in chastity. So he said, you are stopping me. Krishna is like my husband and you are preventing me from going to my husband. How is that? So the soldier was a bit intelligent. He said, okay, you go. So he was so much chased to the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. And he escaped like that. So here also we see that these pure devotees were not deterred anyway by their wealth, by their home, by their property, by their wives. Right? Okay, so now we have seen the points of course, one final verse to see the detrimental effect of these attachments. It's also in the same chapter 518, prayers of Jambudvip. हरिर्साक्षात् भगवान् शरीरिणाम् आत्मा यसानम् इव तोयम् ईप्सितं हित्वामहं स्वं तं यदि साजते गृहे तथा आत्मं वयस dampatim. So what is this word saying? Just as aquatics always desire to remain in the vast mass of water, all conditioned living entities naturally desire to remain in the vast existence of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, if someone very great by material calculation fails to take shelter of the Supreme Soul but instead becomes attached to material household life, his greatness is like that of a young low-class couple. One who is too attached to material life loses all good spiritual qualities. So this is what's happened. If you become attached to that material life without Krishna, then all good qualities are gone. Whatever piety we have accumulated for so many years also is gone. See? So from these verses, we can understand how detrimental this material attachment is. Of course, if you even go to the 7th canto, Jai Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan 7th canto, 6th chapter, it's talking about the household life, and how that life is very dangerous. So now, maybe we can see one of the verses there. 7:6. If a person too attached to duties of family maintenance is unable to control his senses, the core of his heart is immersed in how to accumulate money. Although he knows that one who takes the wealth of others will be punished by the law of government and by the laws of Yamaraj after death, he continues to cheating others to acquire money. So many verses in this chapter you can look through how dangerous that family life, family attachment is. So now back to the Maharaj Priyavrata, right? He was showing remorsefulness and he wanted to detach from his family life situation. So this is you must understand, pure devotee. Even before entering into marriage life, they are understanding what is marriage life, how to run that marriage life, and they know how to come out. There is an exit plan also. So we can see the similar parallels with Kardama Muni. See, Kardama Muni was the brother-in-law of Priyavrata actually. Priyavrata's sister Devahuti was married to Kardama Muni. So Kardama Muni was a Prajapati, son of Brahma also. And Kardama Muni was ordered by Brahma to procreate. Prajapati's lineage, right? Their responsibility to bring population to the world. See, if you see this verse, Vidura, this is the first verse of 21st chapter, 3rd canto. Vidura said, the line of Swayambhuva Manu was most esteemed. O worshipable sage, I beg you give me an account of this race, whose progeny multiplied through sex intercourse. While the Bhagavatam condemns family attachment, sex life is totally condemned, right? But how come Vidura is asking about the sexual intercourse of the Swayambhuva Manu's lineage? So we see the purport that regulated sex life to generate good population is worth accepting. Actually, Vidura was not interested in hearing the history of persons who are merely engaged in sex life, but he was interested in the progeny of Swayambhuva Manu because in that dynasty, good devotee kings appeared who protected their subjects very carefully with spiritual knowledge. So this is also Maharaj Priyavrata, Dhruva Maharaj, Uttanapad. By hearing the history of their activities, therefore, one becomes more enlightened. Right? You see? By hearing the sex life of a mundane person, you fall down. But by hearing about this, of the pure devotees, you get liberated. You see the difference? It's the same thing, but the consciousness how different the consciousness is. Like you see, uh, many of these fake sadhus, they renounce. Oh, we cannot see women, we cannot hear or talk about women. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, sannyasi, right? Sannyasi should not have any attachment or relation with women, right? Correct? Everybody knows that. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was attached to the pastimes of the gopis. They were the most exalted women. Right? They are also women. But why? Because they were the most purest devotee of Krishna. So the attachment is because of that, their consciousness, which is so attached to Krishna. Not just, oh, I'm not. So here, okay, we continue the purport. By hearing the history of the activities, therefore, one becomes more enlightened. The important word used in this connection is Brahma Samata, which indicates that the progeny created by Swayambhu Manu and his sons was approved by great authorities. In other words, sex life for creating exemplary population is acceptable to all sages and authority of Vedic scripture. So when we see the story of Kardama Muni, he was ordered by his father. It's not that he himself wanted a wife. He was not meditating for a wife, but because of order from the Guru, spiritual authority, Guru ordered him that you have to produce progeny. So what he did was, he went and did 10,000 years of tapasya. Swayambhu Manu went through 10,000 years of tapasya, and finally the Lord appeared in front of him. You know, let's see if there's another verse. See, yeah, this is the verse where Brahma says, the great sage Maitreya replied, commanded by Brahma to beget children in the world, the worshipable Kardama Muni practiced penance on the bank of the river Saraswati for a period of 10,000 years. So same way, Brahma also ordered Priyavrata to take up the role as a king, to take up household life. Right? So yes, so he meets, after 10,000 years, Krishna comes, Vishnu comes and blesses him that yes, you will get married to Devahuti, Swayambhu Manu's daughter. You will produce progeny. You know. But here's the thing, he was not attached also. When he spoke to Devahuti, when he spoke to Swayambhu Manu, this was his condition. You see? I'll show you the verse. These were his conditions. In the next chapter, he said, therefore I shall accept this chaste girl as my wife on condition that after she bears semen from my body, I shall accept the life of devotional service accepted by the most perfect human beings. That process was described by Lord Vishnu. It is free from envy. So he says that after I do my duty as a father, I produce the child. In fact, he will have 9 daughters, and one of them is Kapila Dev, who is Krishna, Lord himself. One son, 9 daughters, 1 son. The son is Kapila Dev. So he said, after I do that, I am detaching from this family life. So he is going into an idea of family life with the idea that he has to detach. He is telling to the father this plan. So you see the previous verse. So you can see the purport as well. It's interesting that Karada Muni expressed his desire for a very beautiful wife, the Emperor Swayambhu, and accepted the Emperor's daughter for marriage. Karada Muni was in the hermitage practicing complete celibacy as a brahmachari, and although he had the desire to marry, he did not want to be a householder for the whole span of his life because he was conversant with the Vedic principles of human life. According to Vedic principles, the first part of life should be utilized for brahmacharya, for development of character and spiritual qualities. In the next part of life, one may accept a wife and beget children, but one should not beget children like cats and dogs. Karada Muni desired to beget a child who would be the ray of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ray of Vishnu. One should beget a child who can perform duties of Vishnu, otherwise there is no need to produce children. There are 2 kinds of children born of good fathers. One is educated in Krishna consciousness so that he can be delivered from the clutches of Maya in that very life. And the other is a ray of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and teaches the world the ultimate goal of life. This is Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, right? Bhakti Vinod Thakur prayed for a ray of Vishnu to appear. He had so many children, he was a householder. Right? And the child which was born, Bhakti Siddhanta, became the Acharya of the entire world. And of course, he was the Acharya of our own Guru, Srila Prabhupada. So it's not an ordinary, how powerful and how much tapasya you have to be doing to have that kind of child. You must be so, husband and wife have to be so much in drowning in Krishna consciousness to have that kind of child, a ray of Vishnu. In fact, what's the name of the painting? Jadurani. Jadurani once asked, Jadurani was married to Satswarupa, right? She asked this question to Prabhupada, can we pray for a ray of Vishnu? Then he said, you don't need to think so much, you just do your sadhana, chanting properly. We said, pray to Krishna for a nice progeny. We are not in the level to bring down a ray of Vishnu, But we are not Bhaktivinoda Thakur's level. So, as will be described in the later chapters, Kardama Muni begot such a child Kapila, the incarnation of the personality of Godhead, who enunciated the philosophy of Sankhya. Great householders pray to God to send his representatives so that there may be an auspicious movement in human society. This is another reason to beget a child. So we can see also Priyavrata Maharaj, all the child he begot, they were all great devotees, highly noble kings. He gave the sons the various divisions of the, what is that, Bhumandala? The 9 islands, right? Is it 7 islands? Yeah, 7 islands, 7 divisions. Each son, how qualified they were. Not normal child, And also he had child who were the next Manus. I think 3 of the child were going to be the next Manus. So what kind of children he produced, right? So it is not a normal attached family life. It's a Krishna conscious family life. Another reason is that the highly enlightened parent can train the child in Krishna consciousness so that the child will not have to come back again to the miserable world. Parents should see that the child born of them does not enter the womb of another mother. So 5, what is that verse? Guru Nasyat, Pita Nasyat. Do not be a guru, you cannot be a 5:18 here. Guru Nasyat. One cannot be a father, one should not be a mother, a demigod, a guru, if you cannot deliver your dependence. Right? Unless one can train the child for liberation in their life, there is no need to marry or produce children. If human society produce children like cats and dogs, the disturbance of social order, then the whole world becomes hellish, and it is in the age of Kali. In this age, neither parents nor the children are trained. Both are animalistic, simply eat, sleep, mate, defend, and gratify their senses. This disorder in social life cannot bring peace to human society. So this is what... So Kardama Muni explained beforehand that he would not associate with the girl devotee for the whole duration of his life. He would simply associate with her until she had a child. In other words, sex life should be utilized not only to produce a nice child and not for other purpose. Human life is especially meant for complete devotion to the service of the Lord. That is the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya. So this is how the same thing Maharaj Priyavrata did as what Kardama Muni did. He actually, after speaking those verses, he will detach. In the end, he will detach from his family life also. So you may ask this question, right? Very interesting question. If Kardama Muni, the goal of spiritual life is to attain Krishna, right? Right? Everything, smartabhya satatam Vishnu, smartabhya na jatati. The whole idea is to never forget Krishna, always remember him, right? So Kardama Muni actually achieved that. He attained Krishna as his own son, Kapila Dev. So when the goal of spiritual life is to attain Krishna, how come he is detaching from that, right? Think about it. Interesting, right? The goal is to get Krishna, but here this person got Krishna and then he is detaching and going and taking sannyas, going back to the forest. How come? So that answer is given. In this verse, this is the chapter where Kardama Muni is taking renunciation. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Maya Proktam Lokasya Paramanam Satyalukike Athakyani Maya Tudhyam Yat Avocham Ritam Muni. The personality God in Kapila said, whatever I speak, whether directly or in the scriptures, is authoritative in all respect. But people around me, O Muni, because I told you before that I would become your son, I have descended to fulfill this truth. So actually Kardama, firstly you must understand, who was he? Sutapa and Prishni. Sutapa and Prishni, in the previous lives, they did so much of tapasya to attain Lord Krishna as their child. So the Lord says, in 3 lifetime I will appear as a child. One in this current lifetime as Sutapa and Prishni. The next life as, this Kardama. Is it Kardama? No. Sorry, actually, no. This is not. Sorry, I made a mistake. This is not connected. So the next life is Aditi, Kasyapa and Aditi, Vamanadev. And the next life is Krishna for Devaki and Vasudeva. So that is a separate thing. So here also the Lord has promised. So he appeared, right? So now we see the purport. I think it's in this purport. Okay, yeah, this is the purport. So Prabhupada gives an answer here that Kardama Muni was to leave his family life and completely engage in the service of the Lord. But since he knew that Lord himself, as Kapila, had taken birth in his home, as his own son, why was he preparing to leave home to search out for self-realization or God realization? This is the question. God himself is in your home, why you are going out to search, right? God himself was present in his home, why should you leave your home? Such a question may be certainly arise, but here it is said that whatever is spoken in the Vedas and whatever is practiced in accordance with the injunction of Vedas is to be accepted as authoritative in society. Vedic authority says that householder must leave home after 50th year. Pancho Vanam Vrajeti. One must leave his family life and enter the forest after the age of 50. This is an authoritative statement of the Vedas, based on the division of social life into the 4 departments of Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas. Kardama Muni practiced yoga very rigidly as a brahmachari before his marriage, and he became so powerful, he attained so much mystic power that his father Brahma ordered him to marry and beget children as a householder. Kardama did that also. He begot 9 good daughters and 1 son, Kapila Muni. And thus his householder duty was also performed nicely. And now his duty was to leave. Even though he had the Supreme Personality of Godhead as his son, he had to respect the authority of Vedas. So duty is very important. And he wanted to respect the scriptures, which was spoken by Krishna himself. This is a very important lesson. Even if one has God in his home as his son, one should still follow Vedic injunctions. So the word of the Vedas, word of Krishna, Bhagavad Gita, is all very important. Even there's a verse in the Gita, right? Krishna himself is quoting from Vedanta Sutra. He doesn't need to, but he can say, I said so. But he is quoting the authority of Vedanta Sutra. I forgot which one, but it is stated, Mahajano yena gatasya panta, Madhya 17:186, one should traverse the path which is followed by great personalities. Kardama Muni's example is very instructive, for in spite of having the Supreme Personality of Godhead as his son, he left home just to obey the authority of Vedic injunction. Kardama Muni states here, the main purpose of leaving his home while traveling all over the world, as a mendicant, he would always remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart, and thereby freed from the anxieties of material existence. Okay, so in this age, Kali Yuga, sannyasa is prohibited, but because persons in this age are all sudras and cannot follow the rules and regulations of sannyasa life, it is very commonly found that so-called sannyasis are addicted to nonsense, even having private relationship with women. We were talking about this earlier. So this is the answer basically, that following the injunctions of the Vedas. So here we can see that he was extremely detached. Even the Lord is the Son also, yes, let me follow the Vedas. Let me go to the forest and meditate on the Lord. Right? But in our situation, yeah, it's very hard to do that, especially in Kali Yuga. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made it very easy. Wherever you are, Jnana Prayasa Muda Pashan Namante Eva, whatever position you are, you do your chanting, you do your service for the Lord. You engage your family in that. And one final example, we saw the example of Kardama Muni. Even the example we can see of Swayambhuva Muni. Swayambhuva Manu was also a pure devotee, Raja Rishi, but he was an householder. And what we can see, he himself was not attached to his household life, to that opulences. This is there in This is there in the 322 chapter as well. Emperor Swayambhuva Manu enjoyed life with his wife and subject and fulfilled his desire without being disturbed by unwanted principles contrary to the process of religions. Celestial musicians and their wives sang in chorus about pure reputation of the emperor. And early in the morning every day he used to listen to the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of God with loving heart. So why he was detached? Because he was always hearing about the Lord. Pastimes of the Lord was always heard. That's why he was detached. Attachment was to Krishna. So the next verse. um, So the Krishna conscious movement is meant for that, to allow people to have an opportunity to have this hearing of this pastime of the Lord. So they do not get attached to their family life, but attached to Krishna instead. Okay. So in the next verse we see that thus Swayambhu Manu was a saintly king. Although absorbed in material happiness, he was not dragged to the lowest grade of life, for he always enjoyed his material happiness in Krishna conscious atmosphere. This is how we should be, Even though he was having the material happiness, he was not dragged because Krishna was always there. Krishna consciousness was always there. So you see the purport there. Kingly happiness or material enjoyment generally drags one to the lowest grade of life. Don't talk about us. The king has the highest level of enjoyment, right? The king's body, so much of pleasure is available like that. Namely degradation to animal life because of unrestricted sense enjoyment. But Swayambhu Manu was considered as good as saintly sage because the atmosphere created in his kingdom and home was completely Krishna conscious. The case is similar with the conditioned soul in general. They have to come into this material life for sense gratification, but if they are able to create Krishna conscious atmosphere, as depicted here or as prescribed in revealed scriptures by temple worship and household deity worship, then in spite of material enjoyment, they can make advancement in pure Krishna consciousness without doubt. So, how to do that? By association with sadhu, sadhu sangha, the five limbs of bhakti. Sadhu sangha, nama kirtan, bhagavata shravan, mathura vasa, Shri Murti seva. We have to do these five things. Then the atmosphere, this verse talks about the atmosphere, right? Your atmosphere will change. Then detachment comes. Okay. So I think one last verse. Jai Shri Shri Radha. So consequently, although his duration of life gradually came to an end, his long life consisting of a Manvantara era. Manvantara is how many years? 71 cycles of Brahma's. 71 cycle of the 4 yugas is one. That means 4.32 billion times 71. That is the length of his life. But his life was not spent in vain, since he ever engaged in hearing, contemplating, writing down, chanting the pastimes of the Lord. Not a single moment of his life was spent in vain, because he was doing this. The 9 processes of bhakti, right? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, everything he was doing. Pada Sevanam, Archanam. Like again, Maharaj, Ambarish Maharaj also. Save Mana Krishna Padaravindayo. He was engaging all his senses. So that is what we can learn from this great king story. So why Vidura is asking about the lineage of Swayambhu Manu? How much we have learned so far. Right? Vidura wanted people to know how great these devotees are. So, yes. So this some parallel examples we can see from Priyavrta Maharaj, Swayambhu Manu, Kardva Muni, how they are leading their household life and how they are also detaching. So I think that's all. If there's any extra points or comments to add it. How do I? Yeah. How do I find it? But okay, I mean, another example I can give is Gadadhar Pandit. So Gadadhar Pandit, he made a vow that he's taking Kshetra Sannyas. So Kshetra Sannyas means you are sannyasi, but you'll never leave that Kshetra. So he took Kshetra Sannyas of Jagannath Puri. So when Lord Chaitanya was there, right, in Puri, but he was going towards, he wanted to go South India. He wanted to go Vrindavan. So while he was leaving, uh, this is in CC actually, Galadhar Pandit said, I'm coming with you. Then he said, no, no, you made a promise to stay here only, right? So why you are breaking that promise? He said, what is the use of my promise? When the goal of my promise is you are going. What is the point I stay here? So the Lord tested him to see. He said, yes, correct. But still you stay here. You do your preaching here. This is my order to you. So you don't come with me. I will go. So he also said that, like, what is the point me following the Kshetra Sanyas when you are the object of my sannyas, right? But the Lord wanted him to stay there and continue that service there. So this is the verse was, where is the full, yeah. Okay, yeah, this is the verse quoted by Tattvika earlier. Aradito yadi haris tapasa tata kim, Aradito yadi haris tapasa tata kim, Antarbahi yadi haris tapasa tata kim, Nantar bahir yadi haris tapasa tata kim. If one is worshipping Lord Hari, what is the use of performing extraneous penances? And if one is not worshipping the Lord Hari, no such penance will save one. If one can understand that Lord Hari is all prevailing within and without, what is the need of performing penances? And if one is not able to understand that Hari is all prevailing, all these penances are useless. So this is the verse. Another example is Lokanath Goswami. Lokanath Goswami, the spiritual master of Narottama Das Thakur. So his story is also interesting. Lokanath Goswami was very close associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from a young age, almost same age. So the Lord actually ordered him to go to Vrindavan, and before the Goswamis went to Vrindavan, Lokanath Goswami went first to start to excavate and find all these places. And the Lord told him, one person will come to you in the future, Narottama Das, you must give him initiation. So he was there. So when at 24 years old, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, so he got very disturbed and he wanted to see the Lord. So even the Lord ordered him to stay in Vrindavan, not leave, but he left. He came all the way from Vrindavan to the place where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, Puri, right? He came to Puri. No, he took somewhere else, but then he came to Puri. So he came to Puri, and then when he reached Puri, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not there. Everybody told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to South India. And he said, oh no. He said, okay, let me go and find him in South India. And he went all the way to South India, found out Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left back to Puri. Again he went back to Puri after so much time walking. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu not here. He went to Vrindavan. So he was there in Vrindavan, right? He went all this roundabout. Then he said, oh, I'm going back quickly. He went back to Vrindavan. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu already left Vrindavan. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came in his room. Stop running here and there. Just stay here and do your duty in Vrindavan. And wait for Narottama Das Thakur to come. You initiate him. And of course, Narottama Das Thakur came and he did not give initiation for 2 years. He was testing him so much. He said, I don't want to give anybody initiation at all. Narottama Das Thakur was so humble, doing service for the, he was clearing his stool, Secretly, he will go and clear the place of the stool, And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again came in his dream and told, why you are torturing him? Just give him the initiation. So like that, another example, like how Lokanath Goswami, So okay, there's nothing else, then we will stop here.
Just like third chapter, just for showing example to others, he took sannyas. Just like Kunti Devi did the role of a woman, although she was actually beyond those.
So there's a point added by Tati Prabhu that Karadama Muni, he was perfect. He is 100% Krishna conscious, but his action of taking sannyas is to teach the world that we should, or even he, Kunti Devi, what she did?
She kept herself under the protection of her son.
Kunti Devi was so intelligent lady, much so pure devotee, but she kept herself under protection of her sons, husband, sons, followed by sons, and she always portrayed herself being less intelligent, even though she was not. So teaching the Acharya, of course, Bhagavatam, they are teaching by example how we should also act. Right. Okay. So we'll stop here. Jai Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Nitai Gaur. Oh, that's a question. Yeah. On the mic. Correct. So there's a question here. Yeah. So it is said, who we marry is destiny. Then it is demanded that we attach ourselves to family life. Otherwise, they complain. Now, if we do that dutifully, that is also a sin. I think you're asking whether attaching to family life is a sin. No, we saw the verse right away. Nothing is a sin, provided that attachment is connected to Krishna. We saw many examples also, how Priyavrata was attached, Parikshit Maharaj was attached. All these great devotees, they were attached, but they were detached also, attached detachment, Yukta Vairagya, like that. They were attached to the lotus feet of Krishna, that is their main priority. Like you see in the story of Kardama Muni, while negotiating with the father the marriage terms, he already told that this is what I'm going to do. After that, I'm going to hand over the responsibility to my son and I'm going to leave. He's not going there in the mindset that I'm going to enjoy my wife, make use of her, enjoy all my senses. And that will lead to degradation and fall down. So yes, attachment in household life is there. But what kind of attachment is? It's a loving attachment to elevate our dependence. Like we have to show love, to the spouse, to the child. Then we can teach them how to. If you want to see how ideal, in current times, if you see the videos of Nitai Prabhu on YouTube, many videos are there. Nimai Nitai Das, you can go to the YouTube channel Nimai Nitai Das. He's a grihastha, but you can see how he's leading his grihastha life, how he's preaching, how he's guiding his son, his wife in the process. Very nice examples you can see online as well from ISKM. So we do like that. Okay. So we stop here. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam.